Hello, welcome to today's video. I'm Peter,
And Amelina.
and this is Retire Everywhere. So, today we want to talk about something we've mentioned in other videos and really felt like we should expand on it because it's important and it's also something we wish we had known when we started and thought more about. And that is knowing your travel style, really your travel speed.
Yeah, we mentioned it a couple of times. When you decide to retire, if you're ready for that, what is one of the biggest questions that you should ask yourself? Are you a fast traveler, or you're a slow traveler, or you're in between?
Yeah, and if you watch videos like we did and you see all these folks out there who are traveling, you'll notice their styles, but we really haven't seen a comparison between them. We've seen people explain their styles, especially the slow travel folks. There's a lot of videos about what is slow travel, and that one's pretty self-explanatory. But we want to just dive in and then talk about what we're doing, especially now that we are in our third year of doing this, and just kind of show you. So the first one,
Slow travel.
yes, that is the one that you see the most videos about. You probably understand. It is the month at a time. Stay in a city, get to know a city, stay in an apartment generally. It sounds great in practice, or it sounds great in theory. In practice, it has its risks and its benefits. The benefits are you do get to really settle in. You can stock a kitchen, and it doesn't, you're not throwing it away in a week when you leave. You can really get to know an area, get to know certain stores and bakeries and parks and all the things you love. The downsides are you can kind of run out of things to do if you're not in the right spot. Or what's our biggest one? That turns out the place you picked to stay is just not that nice.
Yeah, that's true.
I stumped her.
Yes, it's one of those things that sometimes you think, okay, I want to stay a month, let's say, in this place, in this city, and you get there and you realize, hmm, it's maybe a city that is big enough, but sometimes it's not a lot to do. So
Yeah, and if you happen to pick the wrong part of town and maybe it's not as easy to get around as you thought it was going to be, yeah, you can end up kind of having limited options, or it's a pain to get around to the beach when you want to go to the beach or something like that, or you end up having to rent a car to get around, and now you have a large extra expense you weren't budgeted for. So you got to be really careful with those. There's a lot more research that goes into it. Hopefully, you've done it. As we've said in other videos, we recommend that travel if you know a place that you want to go and stay that extended period of time. But don't book too many in advance, and make sure you have a cancellation policy because you really don't want to get stuck. So, slow travel is great. A lot of people love it. There are just a few downsides we want to make sure we point out. And there have been a lot of videos lately by other YouTubers about why they have given up the Airbnb lifestyle. Some of them have actually switched to a slightly faster speed because that third and fourth week can kind of seem a little long, and Airbnb is not the great value it used to be. So, there's some other options out there now. So
the next one is fast travel, like another people call it vacation mode.
yeah, it's basically just like you are when you go to some place for a week, 10 days, 12 days. Normal U.S. and we're mainly talking United States folks. But if you're from another country, I'm sure you've done it too, where you just go somewhere and you try to see everything you can, and you come back more exhausted than when you left.
To be the vacation from the vacation.
Yeah. In the retirement world, especially if you're doing line like we are, where you're doing extended travel or even full-time travel, it just means you're running around, you're bouncing from place to place, and you're really, you're skimming across in areas, and you're really treating it as a tourist and as a vacationer, and you're just trying to see as much as you can. Um, Great for seeing a large amount of things. The downside to me is it's exhausting. We've done it.
Yeah, that's why we're talking about that, because we do that before, and it wasn't not that long ago, like a year ago.
Yeah, a couple years now.
Yeah, so we go to Australia, New Zealand, and we visit, I don't know, like 18 places, if not more, in a couple of months. And oh my God, we were so tired at the end of that that we make the decision to move to Portugal and stay there for a year to recover.
Yeah. Yeah, it led us to I won't say a poor decision. Portugal is lovely, but deciding to get off the road to recover was just, it's one thing to spend a couple of months. It's another thing to get a visa and try and stay a year and get a long lease and everything else. So fast travel could be great. Some people love it. The biggest channel in this area is the retirement travelers, and they've been running around for years. It's who they are. We have friends who do it. Great. For us, we just found that we were wiped out after about 6 weeks, and we needed a break from it. And we booked all these, back to back to back little trips. And the other downside is it's a lot of travel expenses. Like you're either going to rent a car or a caravan in a lot of places, or you're just jumping on trains and planes and buses to get around. So,
And another thing that I will add to that is at the end, you kind of sit and think about where we were. I really don't remember every single place that we visit because we're moving so fast. So
yeah.
For us, it's no something that we'll really enjoy.
Yeah, we might go to a place for a short period of time to kind of see it and see if we want to stay longer. But that's one of the reasons we now have this different style that we're going to talk about in a second. So the next one is becoming an expat, which is probably what most people think about when they have dreamed of retirement. It's basically packing your life up and moving to a new place, generally either lower cost or, if you can, just your dream place. People move to Italy or France or something like that. Had just dream, or Mexico.
Mexico,
and
yeah.
and that's great, and that's what you're looking for. You want your similar life without work and in a different place. That's wonderful. That's not what we're doing, and that's not what we're experts in. We did settle down in Portugal, and we have a lot of friends back there who are still loving being expats there, and that's for them. For us, we're not ready for that life yet. But an expat is really, you're setting up a new life somewhere else, doing almost all the same things you had before, other than probably a job. Though there are some people out there who find essentially jobs, either volunteering or actual work, in their new homes. So they really just moved. So it's a great life if that's what you want. But for us, we still miss the road. So there's another style that has some of these other people on YouTube have coined the phrase, and I've heard it in a few different people, is FlexPat. So
I like that.
Yeah, so a little more flexibility. You don't actually set up residency somewhere, but maybe you stay somewhere for an extended period of time. Pretty popular. It's essentially kind of like digital nomad, but for the retirement folks. And you don't have to get a visa in Thailand and Vietnam and places like that. You can just leave the country for a day and come right back. You don't have to actually leave for a day. You just have to leave the country and come back, and you get a whole new visa.
Very popular over here in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, and obviously you can't do that in the Shenzhen, but it's the same idea of the people who've gone, who like to go to the Shenzhen for 3 months at a time, stay there 90 days, and then get out and go visit either Eastern Europe or hop on a plane to another continent or go back home to the United States or Canada or wherever. It provides a little flexibility to their life without giving up everything. We have sold everything. We live out of a suitcase. We don't have stuff waiting for us anywhere anymore.
We don't want that either.
Yeah, exactly. We're past that point, or maybe we'll get back to it. Who knows? But the FlexPat lifestyle offers a lot of upsides, and the downsides are just you still have a home base somewhere. Generally, there's a lot of people who have a second home somewhere that they want to be at all the time, but they've moved, and they want to keep exploring while they have the ability to travel, because that's the other thing we all know in retirement is at some point you're not going to be able to, or you're not going to want to travel. So while you've got the health and the money and the desire, you want to move around and go do stuff. So, and then the last one is kind of what we're doing. We kind of coined this phrase, and it's the same idea, but we call it visa speed, or slower travel. And it's basically taking advantage of the visas that these different countries give you and staying, some are 30, most are 60 to 90 days, and really trying to, take advantage of that, not move as much, and, see one country a little more. It does limit the amount we move around in a year, but it also saves on our travel costs.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we feel very excited about staying here in Southeast Asia, and that kind of visa is more popular over here. Is I mean, very appealing. The thinking that you can get out from the country for one day and come back, and the visa basically start all over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that's,
So
and I think you're referring to the Thailand digital, not the destination Thailand visa, which is a 6 month visa. It's good for 5 years, but you can come in 6 months at a time, but you literally can leave for a day and come back and start a new 6 months. But yeah, a lot of these you can, with like people do it all the time here in Vietnam. They stay for the 3 months that you're allowed, they leave for a day and come back. And that's one of the downsides of what has happened in Europe with the Shenzhen is that 90-day out of 180 limits you. Now, some people appreciate going to the Eastern European areas and getting outside of Europe. But if I wanted to spend 6 months traveling around Southern Europe and, Italy, France, Greece, Portugal, Spain, those things, you can't, without becoming a resident. Even then, what we found in Portugal was their residency permit visa that we got limited the amount of months we could just be out of Portugal. Even though we were still in the Shenzhen, it counted against us and could actually end up costing us our visa.
mm-hmm.
We, of course, gave it up voluntarily, but that's another story. So what we wanted to do in this video was really talk to you about what it means to know your travel speed. And you may have to do a little trial and error, which is another thing we do recommend. Go on a trip, stay a month somewhere, someplace you really want to be. See if you can really stand being in the same spot for that long. Stay a week at a time or less and move around and bounce around kind of like your vacation, but do it for several weeks and see if you're like us, you get exhausted. If you're like the retirement travelers, they've been going at it for years and it just juices them. So that's great for them. But anyway, that was the thought.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do in Bangkok in December, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we moved in the same city, different areas to see what was the food that was around, the stores. I mean, name it, the vibe of that area in specific. So we spent like more than a month in there, and yeah, it's a great experience, since you learn a lot. Believe it or not, some cities are big enough that you can easily spend a month or more in them. And
yeah, I mean, when you watch a video about people who come to Vietnam and they spend, 28 days or 30 days or whatever bouncing around and try to see the entire country, that's fast travel. Staying in Bangkok in different hotels, you're not really having those travel days. You're not having the overnight buses and things like that. We limit our travel just because we don't enjoy those days. I don't care what mode of travel it is. I could be in the back of a really nice car. If I'm still driving 4 or 5 hours, I'm not enjoying it. So, but anyway, again, we just wanted to give you a quick overview of what we see as travel lifestyles. If you have any feedback or other ideas for
questions,
and yeah, especially questions, please leave in the comments. We'll get back to you. Look forward to you in the next video. Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.